Hey friends, how's it going? Ash here. Welcome back to Gents. If my voice sounds a little weird, it's because I'm getting over the sickness. Yeah, I listened to a little bit too much Disturbed, I guess. And I did indeed get down with the sickness. But I'm on the up and up now, so here we are. Feeling better, feeling glad that I can finally kind of breathe, at least a little bit. Today I want to talk to you guys about 10 different fall fragrances that are great for compliments. Some fragrances that are just like a number of steps above your average fall scent as far as getting that positive attention. Basically, if you're looking for compliments, unsolicited compliments, these 10 are gonna get the job done for you. As always, I'll have these linked in the description below, and here are a bunch of codes that you can use to save money. There's a new code for Frag Bar. It's Gents10. That'll save you 10% off the website. Yeah, it's kind of an interesting name, Frag Bar. When I hear Frag Bar, it makes me think of like, I don't know, like some sort of granola bar that you would take with you on a hike or something. Grab the Frag Bar. Of course, it means fragrance bar, and they do have a lot of fragrances there, including a number of clones, so check them out. Just so many codes, man, so many codes. All right, let's jump into it. The first fragrance is a niche one. Most of these are designer, but there are a few niche fragrances. This one is from Juicebox. It's called Night Flow. Now, when it comes to Juicebox, I've never been the biggest fan. Yeah, if I'm honest, just throwing it out there, when they very first came out, it looked intriguing to me because look at that little vinyl record on top of the cap there. That looks pretty cool. And then some of the fragrances were based around musical artists that I listened to, like Nirvana, for example. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's interesting, that's different. And then I tried out a lot of them when they were new, and just most of them really didn't do anything for me. Yeah, so I didn't care too much, and kind of filed that brand off to the wayside, you could say. Now this one, I only checked out this year. It's a 2020 release, I believe, so it's been out for a minute. But like I said, I've not been heavy into Juicebox. But then I tried this one out and I was like, wait, this stuff is actually really good. No. It reminds me of Tom Ford's Tuscan Leather, which is not a surprise, or shouldn't be a surprise anyway. When you look at the note breakdown, leather is one of the main notes in the fragrance, along with raspberry, saffron, so yeah. So if you want to docket points for something, you could docket points for that. Oh, in the same style as Tuscan Leather, and there are a bunch of fragrances that are in that style, so yeah. That being said, really nice sweetness to this one, very wearable leather, good performance, smells fantastic in the cold, great evening fragrance. My wife loves this stuff. Like the first time she smelled this, she thought it smelled way better than Tuscan Leather, even though to me the difference is not magnificently huge between the two, but it certainly, as far as leather fragrances goes, is a big compliment puller. And there's another one coming up a little bit later in this list, another leather fragrance, actually a couple that are very good at pulling compliments. So Night Flow, the first one I wanted to talk about, absolutely worth checking out. Not as easy to find at a discounter as a lot of other niche fragrances. I know Twisted Lily has these. Gents10, Twisted Lily, 10% off. Shameless self-promotion. After that, AOS Parfum, dude. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know. Let's get pumped for Parfum. AOS Parfum, I mean, really just any AOS is gonna work for you. AOS Flame, Eau de Toilette, Eau de Parfum, Parfum, doesn't really matter. These fragrances, the AOS fragrances, big time compliment pullers. You already knew that. They're big sellers, you know, some of the best selling fragrances in the country. I feel like next year, Versace's got to come out with a new AOS. I feel it in my bones. If that doesn't happen, what are you doing, Versace? Because they really seem to be concentrating on AOS, and you know, everybody's coming out with flankers nowadays. I mean, it's been that way for a minute, to be fair, but still. And everybody came out with elixirs this year. Everybody came out with elixirs. Versace, no elixirs. So next year, could we get AOS elixir? Maybe, I don't know, man, I'm shooting in the dark. AOS Parfum, for me, is my personal favorite of the AOS line. I do think maybe the Eau de Parfum is the most overall versatile one in the bunch for a lot of people, but for me, the Parfum is the best one, the go-to. Nice and smooth, good sweetness without being overly syrupy synthetic. Just super pleasant. The opening is very appealing here. Just the right amount of tonka. It doesn't go overboard. For me, You know, it's a little bit classier than the Eau de Toilette, a little bit more grown up, but still has a nice casual edge to it as well. So it doesn't end up being something that can only be used in certain situations. It does still have good versatility. Love this stuff. AOS Parfum, really, really good. But again, if you're looking for compliments, any of the AOS fragrances would work. I do think that for fall and winter, the Eau de Parfum and the Parfum probably are gonna be your best bets. After that, Armani, Emporio Armani, Stronger With You, just the original Stronger With You. And this is kind of similar situation with AOS, where if you like Stronger With You intensely more, you'd go with that one. If you like Stronger With You absolutely more, go with that one. If you like the oud version or the leather version or the amber version, you go with those. But the original never really gets talked about anymore. You know, it's been overshadowed by all those other big boys. So a good amount of chestnut in here and vanilla. It's a warm one. It's got just a little tinge of freshness off the top. And it's cozy, inviting, sexy, all that stuff. Not like breaking news or anything, but it's not as intense as Stronger With You intensely. So that can work to your benefit, to your favor, depending on what you're doing. Maybe if you're going on a date or something and you want the fragrance to come across more cozy and less aggressive, then the original Stronger With You would be better than intensely. So in general, sort of highlighting the Stronger With You line here in the sense that they are some of the best compliment pulling fragrances for cool weather on the market right now in the designer realm. And you should not overlook the original, because this can work just as well and is usually the cheapest one of the bunch if we're talking about their cool weather releases. And there's gonna be a number of fragrances that are sort of in this style, because right now, this type of scent profile works really well. From Stronger With You, we go to Luminous Odo Parfum. Love the cherry note in this fragrance. Really, really well done. Also has almond as one of the main notes in here as well. Bit of leather, spices, vanilla, lavender. It's just, you know, it's a perfect fall fragrance. I wish that I had more of my older style bottle. That one is pretty much empty, so I bought this one, which if you buy this new, this is how it's gonna come nowadays. And there's a slight difference between the original bottling and this new bottling, but it's not enough to make a big difference for most people. Like 99% of people are not gonna care that there's a minor difference from the OG to this. Really good longevity here, lasts a solid amount of time off your skin. Projection, not quite beast mode, but gets the job done. And it does give you, as I talked about earlier here, good versatility, because it's not going to aggressively smash people over the face with that projection, but it's gonna last a long time and get you noticed as you move around. Luminous Odo Parfum, absolutely worth checking out. If you've never smelled this for some reason, gotta get your hands on it. Okay, this next one I know is really hard to find. It's the one Luminous Night, Dolce & Gabbana. This is a frustrating one for a lot of you out there because it's awesome, it smells so good, and then it's very difficult to find. Amber, incense, and dates, some of the notes in the fragrance here. And when it does show up at discounters, you know, when you can actually find it, it's pricey. So that's another thing that makes it kind of frustrating for a lot of people out there. But if you can get your hands on this, this could be just the one fragrance that's ever been made. And that's saying something, because the one, if you look at it from start to finish, you know, all the fragrances in that lineup, so many of them are just sick, just killer fragrances. Like the one EDP, that is a modern classic. I think most people would agree with that. Even the original Eau de Toilette that set the whole thing off, that one is really special. The one Royal Night, that has a lot of people that love it. And even like the one Eau de Parfum Intense, that is a great little addition to the lineup. And yet the one Luminous Night is just up above them all. Good performance, a very unique kind of sweetness, because the dates, that note that's used in here, you don't see that very often in men's fragrances. And then especially across like mainline designer scents, it's its own thing. And people love this. This is one of those fragrances, one of those designer scents that walks that line. You know, it gives you something different than most other things out there, but it doesn't like bring it so far over to the different side of things where it starts to be hard to wear. So it gives you unique, but then at the same time, extremely appealing. Love this stuff. Let's go back to another leather one. It's Tom Ford Ombre Leather. So yeah, Juice Box over here smells like Tom Ford Tuscan Leather. And Tom Ford Ombre Leather smells a little bit like Tuscan Leather. We got two fragrances that kind of were set in motion by what Tuscan Leather did before them, but they're both doing their own things, you know, taking that ball from Tuscan Leather and then like carrying it forward. Yeah, it's awesome. Leather, jasmine, cardamom, amber, some of the notes in the fragrance here. So it doesn't have quite that sweet pop, that punch that Tuscan Leather has off the top, but that makes Ombre Leather better for more people, I feel like. I don't feel Tuscan Leather is harsh, but to some people, it's a little too harsh for them to wear. And this is smoother than Tuscan Leather. It's easier going than Tuscan Leather, but it keeps that classiness, keeps that high-end quality to it. So it's one of those scents that you can easily wear into a more formal occasion and you're gonna fit right in, but then it still has that mass appeal that you can use it just about anywhere, even to the office. There's a reason that Ombre Leather sort of leapfrogged Tuscan Leather in the Tom Ford lineup, just as far as how much it's selling. And that's because this takes that initial idea, that style of leather that Tuscan Leather did, and then pushes it forward as far as just the overall mass appeal, the overall ease of use. Really good. We're gonna follow that one up with Scandal. And this is one that gets overlooked a lot of times when we're talking about compliment pullers, which is why I end up working this into a lot of compliment pulling type videos, because I feel like sometimes this one gets slept on a bit more than some of the bigger names out there as far as fragrance lines goes. So this one has caramel and tonka as two of the main notes in the fragrance. You get a little mandarin orange off the top, so you get like just this touch of citrus when you first spray it on. Then you have vetiver in there, kind of underneath everything as it dries down. Never really becomes a focal point, but you can pick up a little bit of that woodiness as you head through the mid into the base. As I said, on a night out in the fall, Scandal is top notch. Like, this is like an S tier compliment pulling fragrance. The presentation, some people might think, is a little cheesy with the crown and just like the boxing looking font on the front there where it says Scandal. Is that Everlast font, not the wrapper? It has drawn a bunch of comparisons to other fragrances out there, so be aware of that. It's drawn comparisons to Le Beau from Jean Paul Gaultier, who's the same brand, Phantom even, Invictus Victory, Invictus Victory Elixir, Stronger With You, that line. I mean, just a bunch of other things out there. Ultimately, if you side by side it with any of those, it doesn't smell the same as any of them. So it does do its own thing, but you could think of it a bit as having, you know, like 20% of that and 15% of that and 15% of that and 20% of that. And, you know, you throw it all together and then, hey, here's Scandal. But I do think it stands alone very well as its own thing. Just be aware that it might remind you vaguely bits and pieces of other things out there. And speaking of that, this one will probably do that too. The Most Wanted from Azzaro. Now, whereas Scandal is like, you know, a billion different things, little bits and pieces of them, The Most Wanted is more closely related to Stronger With You. It does its own thing, but you could say that like this came to be because of this, right? Like you could draw a line from one to the other and be like, okay, this is the evolution of that, kind of. The Most Wanted though, stupid good, stupid good. It's one of those scents that the first time you smell it, you think, oh, that's really good, it's really nice. And then just the more you wear it, it grows on you like a parasite, just stuck onto your brain. Cardamom, toffee, amberwood. The note breakdown, I think it's like just 3 notes, super simple. The Most Wanted Parfum is the same thing. Not the same note breakdown, but very simple. I mean, 3 notes. It has that little tinge of freshness when you first spray it on, helps lead you into the dry down. It has a wonderful sweetness. It doesn't go overboard with it. It doesn't go harsh or syrupy or headache inducing. You know, it's not cloying to me because it has just this little pop of spice in there, that cardamom, that just gives it a nice little edge, and it's more warm and sweet instead of being like heavy and ugh. Now that's not to say it doesn't have good power, because it does. It's just, it comes across in a way that's done very deftly. So it makes a nice scent cloud, leaves a nice scent trail, and last a long time without being douchey. Love the Most Wanted and the Most Wanted Parfum both. Follow that one up with African Leather from Memo. This is a personal favorite of mine, and this one is, as I've said a million times, more so about the cardamom than it is the leather. First fragrance I ever got from the house. Oh man, just threw my tester strip. Got it. My cap has become worn over time and just, yeah, just comes right off. But a fantastic cardamom off the top with like just a little bit of a dusty leather underneath, not animalic, not funky, but it does have just enough of this like darkness to the leather that makes it interesting. As it dries down, you get a good amount of vetiver that comes out, and that cardamom stays pretty sweet the whole way through. It doesn't take the fragrance into the realm of being, you know, as sweet as a lot of these other ones here, but it does give it a nice balance. This has been my go-to Memo over all others, even though I own probably a dozen other Memo fragrances. And this is one of the first leather niche fragrances that I point people toward a lot of times if they're asking for one, because I think it has that kind of designer tinge to it that makes it where, like I've said with all these, it can be very versatile, it can pull compliments, it can get you attention, but as it is a niche fragrance, it's gonna have a little more of an expensive quality to it. So I really like what that one does. Expensive quality to it in terms of the quality is what I mean, not just the price. Last but not least, born in Roma, coral fantasy for all the Walking Dead people. Coral. I can't help it. It's like anytime I see coral, it'd be like snorkeling in the Caribbean or something, and just coral. Interesting, no breakdown on here, but it works really well. Red apple off the top, nice, crispy, fresh, sweet. Cardamom in the opening as well. And as it dries down, tobacco actually becomes one of the main notes in the scent. Lavender, geranium, clary sage in the mid. Yeah, safe, common, commonly used, those three, but it's done really well. And as much as I did not like Born in Roma when it came out, the first Born in Roma, the flankers have gotten progressively better as it's gone on. Coral Fantasy and Born in Roma Intense, I think both of those are just so well done for what they're made for. You may ask, well, what are they made for? And essentially to be used nearly year round, daytime or nighttime, and to get compliments. They do that extremely well. So this one, like I said just now, it's nearly a year-round fragrance. It does lean more toward fall and wintertime use, but you could stretch this out and use it in spring and summer as well. So there we go, these 10 right here, these are just certified compliment monsters, each one of these. If I personally was looking to wear something and the only thing I was focused on was getting positive attention, compliments, etc., like these would be on the short list really easily. There we go, guys. Thank you for hanging with me. Thank you so much. Stay safe. See you tomorrow with another fragrance video. Don't come down with the sickness, man. It is just, I've been living with it. It's not fun.